I gotta be honest. People keep telling me that I should sleep more or something, but I'm gonna need the day to get expanded to at least 36 hours for that to be a reality.
Breach.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of Cross Checking. I'm one of your hosts, Josh Laborious. I'm a pastor at Hope Lutheran Church in Friendswood, Texas. It's a little bit southeast of Houston. And with me, as always, is my co-host, my delightful, beloved, esteemed co-host, Benjamin Olschlager. He is a pastor up in Lake Orion, Michigan at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. The bearded one, they call him. I don't know if anyone calls him that. They should. If you're listening from his congregation, get after it. He's the bearded one. And we're
Thanks
here.
for those illustrious intros, Josh, but you missed out on probably the most important factor about who we are for today. That we're both dads.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I guess. I guess that's relevant.
So we're continuing on with our season on discipleship, and especially how it plays out at different stages of life, and different aspects of life. And the thing that two very sleepy men are going to talk to you about today is
I'm running on caffeine and willpower over here, man. I don't need sleep.
Dude, my brain is so tired. So tired. The thing that we're going to talk to you about today, though, is the things that we've pondered and mused on about what it looks like to maintain discipleship during those busy years of parenting. And, you know, depending on who you talk to, some people will blame you for being busy. Some people will say, oh, you had too many kids, which I don't think that's a human possibility. Except for maybe do you remember was it 15 and counting or whatever? It was family, the Duggars. Their kids keep getting arrested. They might have had too many.
I would contend that there is certainly, and it is probably different from person to person. There is definitely a point of having too many kids, and it is, can you effectively parent them? So for some people, one kid might be too many. Like occasionally you'll meet a person and you're like, you can't even handle your own business. You probably shouldn't be forming a child.
Josh, to the extent to which our friends in seminary would have called us giant children, they'd probably also give us that limit.
What do you mean? I'm still a giant. What? What? Anyway. I'm not going to talk about. We're moving on before I get myself in trouble. I'm drawing a line here. I'm not going to get myself in trouble.
Anyway, so regardless of how many, like what excuses people have or what factors play into like life in a lot of stages of parenthood tends to be, we'll say, very multifaceted.
That's a good, safe way to put it. Well, and
thank you. There's just a lot going on, and there's not always intentional busyness. There's not always like an attempt to keep calendars full or let things get away from you. It just happens because, some kid's going to get sick, and at the same time, like another kid's going to find a skunk in the yard, and like the third child might try and burn the house down, but they don't realize they're burning the house down with the Easy Bake Oven. It just happens. This is an entirely fictional scenario. This is not something that I've seen before. But like, stuff happens, and we want to acknowledge that.
Well, so the focus for today's episode is first and foremost It's occurring to me we're getting to the focus of today's episode. We haven't talked anything that's like really off topic yet, which is very out of character. If you're new to the show, we normally don't even remotely get close to the topic for the first 5 minutes. So before we get to the focus, I just want to say one quick thing. The Avalanche are beating the Wild senseless. And
that first game was drunk.
That first game was a crazy time. And anyway, so there's your hockey update on Ben's team. My team just got a really bad draft position because the draft is rigged. And
how else do you explain
favorite teams always get the number one pick?
The Leafs have missed the playoffs twice in the last decade, and they've gotten the number one pick both times.
Crazy how that works. And yeah, anyway, so the focus for today, because we've done, if you've been following along with the season, and even if you're not, this is how podcasts work. You can go back and listen to old episodes. We've done episodes on what does discipleship look as young children, as confirmation kids, as high schoolers, and those all are resources for parents. Like, how do you support your child during those stages? So what today's episode is going to focus more on, because you can go back and listen to those episodes. We don't have to repeat a lot of that stuff.
We'll see if he ever comes back. Anyway,
is how do you tend to your own discipleship as a parent?
This episode is about...
We will be focusing more on...
Not necessarily like how discipleship is happening for those people, more on like those younger kids that
the parent
we've already
perspective.
Talked about. But more than anything, this episode is meant to be kind of an addendum to that, and also an addendum to
by Ben.
Talking about how you do discipleship in a married relationship.
I have a stable internet connection.
So we're thinking about how do you maintain your discipleship while you're also helping others with their discipleship, whether it's your spouse or your kids or both. Yeah, it looks like Josh did get frozen. So whenever he gets back in here, we'll jump into that conversation. But just know that that's where we're headed. We're looking at like what kind of things do you do to maintain discipleship when things get, or when life gets full. I've only been a dad for 4 months now, but I recognize that that's a reality of a thing that happens, right? So we'll keep that in mind. Also, while we're waiting for Josh, he's back.
Apparently my internet connection is not stable. I have no idea where I lost you, by the way.
I explained everything from where you froze.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
So we're good. So, Josh, I'll toss this to you then. Thinking about what we can do as parents to help make sure that we're maintaining our discipleship. What's something that maybe something that you found helpful, either something that you've done yourself, or I know you've got some really strong families in your life that, including your own parents, that you really admire the way that they went about discipleship. What's something that you've seen that you just think is valuable for people to know about as we ponder what it looks like to maintain discipleship during those full seasons of life?
I'm going to say two things on two opposite ends of some sort of weird spectrum. I don't know. Because yes, very busy area of life, time of life. And acknowledging that, I think one of the most important and most helpful things for parents and discipleship, at least this has been my experience, is the community aspect of discipleship is critical. I will tell you, for Chris and myself, for anyone who's new to the show, Chris is my wife. Between the two of us, we are members of 3 small groups. So on Monday nights, I have a guys' small group that I've been meeting with for most of the time we've been here in Texas. Chris has a ladies' small group that she's a part of. And then together with Ezekiel and Isaiah, there's a small group of families that we're a part of. Okay. That means on probably more weeks than not. That is 3 nights that we are committed to these small group times. And if you're involved with a discipling community like that, it's not always a weekly thing. I'm not saying go and commit 3 nights, but even though it is another thing that goes on the calendar, and admittedly, like, our calendar is less. Both of our, like, Ezekiel is still 2, and Isaiah is not even 1 yet. So, like, acknowledging our calendar is not as full as some parents are. Like, setting the time aside for those groups and to have those communities, especially in the way we have them. Like, guys, it's important for you to take time and have that community where you're working on discipleship. And the same applies for like having that time set aside. Like, that's really important. And is it a struggle to find the time? Yeah. Are there weeks that I'm like, man, I really wish that I didn't have these nights committed? Yes. But I've never finished one of those group meetings and said and had anything less to say than I'm glad that I made the time. Okay. So that's the one thing I want to throw out there is like, this is really helpful. But then the other thing to keep in mind, and it's almost maybe even a little contradictory, is have some grace for yourself. Because like Ben said, you are at a stage of life where you are not in as much control as maybe you are as a single adult or when you were just you two. Because you're right. Sometimes the kid, it's like, even if they know better, even if you are teaching them and discipling them and raising them well, like, you're going to have the night when the kid comes home and says, I have a project due tomorrow and I haven't started. Can we go to Hobby Lobby and get some stuff? You're going to have
Josh
nights.
doing an impression of his 15-year-old self.
Yeah, probably. So you're going to have those times. You're going to have the time where just as you're about to leave the house, kid drops a dirty diaper on the floor and then the dog steps in it and tracks it all over the house. And that event that you were finally going to be on time to, you're 20 minutes late again because you had to clean poop off the floor. Okay.
That was almost exactly what happened to Krista on Sunday. She was ready to be half an hour early for church, and Rosie had a blowout.
Yeah, it's so give yourself some grace. And that's something that your community is going to be good at, because they're one of the ones who will say, hey, like, chill out with those high standards you have for yourself.
And a lot of people have been there, done that. Yeah. They get it.
The other thing that I'll say, and then I promise I'll kick it back to you, Ben, because this is something I see. Also, I'm preaching on idolatry this weekend. So
last weekend, as you're hearing this episode.
Yes, as you're hearing this, it will be the previous Sunday. As I say, commit time to this. One of the things that I, as an observer, right, my kids are still young, so I'm still largely I'm observing phenomenon here. And it's not just me and my years of ministry. This is also like talking to my dad and looking at my dad, who has been in youth and family ministry longer than I have been alive. I think something that a lot of modern parents are doing or are suffering from is they are getting sucked into all of this stuff you quote unquote need to do.
Mm.
And I feel like part of it comes from just this concern that you're not going to be a good enough parent. And that feeds into, you're going to do all these things with your kids. You're going to put all your kid in all these things because you feel like you have to keep up, and you have to, you're failing as a parent if you tell your kid, no, we're not doing that. No, you're not getting involved in that thing. And something that I would push is like, guys, it's okay to say no, and to say, no, we're not going to get involved with that. Or, yeah, you're going to miss some stuff. Or like, your parenting is not gonna, like, you are not suddenly a bad parent just because you didn't buy into all of the things that you quote unquote have to do. And that's something I'm looking for a way to tactfully push more of, like, whether it's your pressure and you're like, I need to get the kids involved in things, or even the kids are like, I want to be in this, and this. Like, it's okay to say, no, we're at capacity. And that also kind of ties into the grace that I was talking about. Like, it's okay to say we're at capacity.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing more.
Mm-hmm.
Or even we're stepping back from some of the things we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you, Ben? What's some things you would highlight for the parentals?
I think something that's just kind of running around my brain, and it's kind of a half-baked thought. So we'll see if we can round something out of this.
It's just
between
like
the two
cookie
of
dough.
us.
It's still kind of gooey and chewy, and that makes it better.
Yeah, you're right. If we're going like fully half-baked, brownies.
That's just
Brownies
chocolate
also.
lava cake, my guy.
Yes and no. Brownies are also better when they're underbaked. And if you want to disagree with me on that, I will fight you.
All this is just making me want to go home and make some chocolate lava cake and put some ice cream on it.
Okay. You can do that later. No, so the thought that that's kind of, again, half-baked, is this idea of, like, what is your discipleship for at this stage in your life? And we talked about this with our buddy Connor a couple of years ago on this podcast. A lot of what we do as the church, we do not because we need to, but because somebody else needs us to. And I don't remember what that episode was all.
Episode.
It was a great episode. Find the guest or episode where Connor Wandrash is our guest.
I'll see if I can link it to when I release this episode.
Yeah, he's a man of much wisdom. But I think that's something that, as a parent, I'm thinking about more now is, why am I called to grow in my faith? And it may not necessarily really actually be for me. I'm probably being called in my faith, at least in part, to help my daughter grow, to help the kids that I'm teaching in confirmation grow, and First Communion, the kids that I'm working with for the preschool. Like, when I'm more active in my discipleship, it is also a benefit to those who I am trying to disciple. And I think that's somewhat motivating to me. Yeah.
Find your
I also
why.
want to echo the grace piece, though, that you mentioned. Like, that's something that I think really derails a lot of our American brains of, like, hey, we got to get this thing done. No, you don't. You got to do it, which is very different than getting it done.
It's two things come to mind for that. The first is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Amen.
And then the other, and I'm not going to link this podcast because it would be much harder for me to find. But it was a podcast Simon Sinek did with, I think it was with a sports psychologist who worked with he worked with the Seattle Seahawks after they lost the Super Bowl, and working with these extremely high performing athletes when they came to the cusp of a life goal and failed. And something he said is the best people in the world at any given thing, if you look at the people who are at the top of their field, they aren't, and this is in line with Ben's, doing it is different than getting it done, is they are not in the pursuit of goals. They are in the pursuit of mastery. And the difference is, a goal you can accomplish. If you are in pursuit of mastery, there is always more to do. You never actually get there. And discipleship is the pursuit of mastery. There's always still room to grow, and what we are pursuing is growth, not accomplishment. So when you're in that busier time of life, growth might slow down. As you are discipling your kids and your focus turns, and maybe your devotion for the day is the family devotion that doesn't have a lot of depth for you because it's written to a kid's level, your growth might slow down, and your growth might be, just a little bit at the beginning or the end of the day for you. There's still growth, and you will get to a time in your life where you can pick back up and that growth can be more explosive. Also, the episode, in case I don't remember to link it, although I wrote myself a handy dandy note to link it, it's called Step Up, featuring Connor Wondrash, and it was released on November 28th, 2023. So if you're looking at our
Reverend
podcast,
Dr. Connor Wondrash at this point?
Huh?
Is he the Reverend Dr. Connor Wondrash?
I believe he did finish his doctorate, yeah.
He's smarter than both of us. I have none of those degrees, and Josh's is an Ed.D., which is cool, but it's not a PhD.
Yeah, you're right. It's because it's useful. It's not just a glorified book report. No offense, if you have a PhD, calm down. Okay, some of them are good, but I also once met someone whose PhD thesis was written on a single hymn. That's not a useful degree.
Yeah, probably.
It means you're an expert at that hymn. Whatever.
Shoot, I had something else. Oh, an image on this. Discipleship is like
Ben
trying
froze.
to fill the ocean with
also
a thimble.
Froze. I can.
You're not going to get anywhere unless you really put good effort into it. And even then, there's probably going to be a point that you get to where, maybe you can float a small sailboat on it, but it's never really going to be perfect or complete. I believe Josh has frozen himself again. This is a good time. But thinking about that idea of seeking mastery, not accomplishment, is great when we're thinking about discipleship, because there's an infinite boundary to what we can do and learn and grow in faith. And it's worth us taking the time to grow where and how we can. Because if we don't, again, that ends up being to our detriment, but also it's just a missed opportunity for the church. It's a missed opportunity for us to grow in something that Christ might be calling us to, but it's also a missed opportunity for us to grow in celebrating the grace that Christ has for us. So, just do it. In case you didn't hear any of that, Josh, giving an image of your accomplishment versus mastery thing of discipleship being like trying to fill the ocean with a thimble. It takes a lot of time and effort, and it's never really going to be done. But you can make a good dent if you keep at it.
You could even push that further. And if you get a bunch of people with a bunch of thimbles, it gets easier.
Yeah, it's also true. Yeah. Josh and I did talk about this as kind of an addendum to both the childhood episodes and the married pre-kids episode. Josh, do you have more that you want to say in this, or should we maybe wrap this up before your computer completely explodes?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't.
I have maybe like one more half thing if you want
You can go for your
something
half
else.
thing. I don't think I really have much to add.
Okay. So I think my last half thing is just being, and this is such a buzzword, being intentional. Finding ways to make it a set part of habits and routines. I will shout out our brother in the ministry and friend, Evan Veen, who once gave me the recommendation of starting my day or finishing my day by closing my laptop and putting my Bible on top of it, so that every day when I walk into the office, the first thing I have to do is pick up my Bible. Doesn't necessarily mean that every day I have the opportunity to stop as soon as I get into the office and read, but it does mean that at the very least I have to think about it. And that's a good way to just make sure it's on your mind, you know. And that could be something else for you too. It could be like your Bible sits in front of the controls for your coffee pot. There's an app now where in order to use your phone, you have to do devotions. Like, just find some way to make it a structured and intentional part of your day.
Yeah. Well, I guess you have half a thing. I'll add half a thing to your half a thing.
Okay.
And that is like look for the blank spaces. So I know a bunch of guys who like they'll listen to their devotion when they're driving to work. Or they'll listen to this podcast when they're driving somewhere. They find times where they can't really be doing anything else, and because we have technology and we have kind of the freedom to do this, that's when they'll play their Bible or they'll play their devotion or whatever it is. And I don't think that's ideal. Like you probably lose some of your focus, but during the busiest times of life, whether it's because you're a parent or because that's just where life has you at any given time, find the spaces and use the spaces where you can. And even like the coffee machine reminds me of this. Like a lot of us aren't like, we're not going to break the bank over 5 minutes of sleep. So maybe you get up 5 minutes earlier and that you found your blank space because you just made it. And you say 5 minutes isn't a lot. You're right. It's not a lot, but like we said, a little is better than nothing. That is for sure. So I'm ready for empty netters if you're ready for empty netters.
I think I am. Yeah. So the thing that's bouncing around my mind, when you said we have the technology, there's this old dumb YouTube video, and it's a snippet of a news broadcast, where the broadcaster says, "It's no wonder so many people are afraid of technology, and then it's some random guy just like shoving a sign in people's faces that says technology and people jumping backwards. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. I think this is kind of similar to how discipleship often goes, is like we talk about how people struggle with discipleship, and then we give these like grandiose, perfect examples of what it looks like. And the reality is, like, all of us struggle with discipleship. We could all be doing better. We could all be taking more thimblefuls of water to the ocean every day, per my earlier image and analogy. But the important thing is to try.
Yeah, don't let the idea that we all could be doing better become an excuse to not do better.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect, but do better.
Yeah.
In the words of, hey, I was playing in a tennis tournament once, and one of my friends came up to the fence in between sets to give me sage wisdom. Don't suck. That was the sage wisdom, and it was good. It was good. My empty netter for the day is, I think if I was to tell one thing to parents who are in similar situations for myself, find the Christian community that you can regularly be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can do one thing for your discipleship during this time, that's probably going to go highest on my list for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, find your people in a faithful way. Don't find like a party of heretics somewhere and say, I'm going to hang out with these people all the time. That's not what we're going for here. Yeah.
Amen to that.
So hopefully this has been helpful for you. It's a pleasure as always. Brothers and sisters, go in peace. Serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Thank you for listening in to this episode of Cross-Checking, a ministry of Hope and Good Shepherd Lutheran Churches, where we strive to deepen your understanding of the faith and help apply it to daily life. If this podcast is helpful to you, rate the podcast, subscribe to us on your favorite platform, and share it with others who might also gain something from it.